Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Cochran, you've had a very tough last few years. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
When you went from trips to Paris, trips to Hawaii, to having to move out of your house, that has been very hard on you, hasn't it?
Yes.
In 2019, in February 2019, what grade were you in?
8th grade.
8th grade. Okay, and you were how old?
12 or 13.
Okay. Did you always take the bus, or did one of your parents or somebody else take you to school?
Usually my mother would take me to school.
Okay. And then you and your brother would ride the bus home?
It just depended on the day.
So sometimes she would come and pick you up?
Yes.
Is there anybody else that transported you?
Sometimes my babysitters would pick us up from school.
Okay. And what school did your brother go to at that time?
I believe we both went to Shady Middle.
Okay. Ms. Crichton, have you met with this gentleman right here, Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Did he interview you? Did he take, what are you going to say? Did he ask you that?
He asked me about questions during that time.
Okay. Did he record anything from you or write anything down? Information you gave him?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Your Honor, under Rule 612, if the defense has a statement of this witness, we'd like it, please.
All right. Is there a statement, Mr. Victor? Would you confer with your investigator?
No, Your Honor. The only time my investigator talked to this witness was in our office.
Does he have any notes from that? Okay. You're in middle school, and you don't really know what your dad does for a living, but he told you he does something with contracts. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And your mom had left her job as a pharmacist how long before your dad started these contracts?
It was after.
Do you know when your mom stopped working as a pharmacist?
I want to say I was in 7th grade, but I'm not entirely sure.
Fair enough. Do you know what your mom made as a pharmacist?
I know she made good money.
To you, that means what?
I believe it was over $80,000 a year.
And she left that job to do what for a living?
My father asked her to leave her job,
To do what?
to stay at home and to assist him, but I never saw her do so.
So she had, as far as you know, she had nothing to do with your dad's businesses. Is that what you're saying?
I never saw her do anything, no.
Okay. And in fairness, you never really saw your dad do anything. He just said to you, I'm working on contracts.
I saw him constantly on his computer and making phone calls.
But you don't know what he was doing.
He told me that they were federal and state contracts.
Okay. And he said, I'm federal and state contracts? What did he say to you?
I am working on contracts.
I am working on contracts. And how many times did he tell you that?
He did it every day.
How many times did he tell you he did that?
Anytime I asked.
How many times did you ask him?
Frequently.
Frequently. Okay. So you're intimately involved with your dad's conversations over his contracts. You don't know what he does for a living, but you know about him doing contracts. And your mom had nothing to do with that business as far as you know. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You're in college now?
Yes.
Where do you go to school?
Concord University.
Okay. What year are you?
It's my second year, but I'm considered a junior.
Okay. Well, your intelligence has been noted, so you're ahead of some of your incoming freshman class. What's your concentration? What's your major?
Accounting and finance.
Do you stress out over finals, or are you just so ahead of the game that doesn't bother you at all?
I know how to study, so I just make sure I have enough time to do so.
Okay. You know some of your friends that don't take that approach and maybe get a little uneasy around finals time?
My friends are pretty similar to me, I would say.
So you wouldn't know anything about stress of finals or any of that stuff?
I understand stress, but I don't stress over finals usually.
Okay. You understand stress. Would it be fair to say that your dad was acting like a man who was under stress when you answered defense questions about how he was doing and feeling?
I would consider him agitated. Yes.
Approaching the top of the hour, let's bring in our guest to discuss. Here in studio, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Marie Pereira, and friend of the program. Thank you. So how is she doing? How is she holding up on this cross-examination? And what are you watching for?
She's holding up okay, but they're coming after her. They started out by saying, how old were you? You were like in the 8th grade when this was going on, and you had a whole conversation with your daddy where he told you what? And how long did you sit with this person, Mr. Jones? Almost to say they prepped you, they put words in your mouth. You didn't even know what you were doing because you were only in the 8th grade at that time. So you're here to defend your mom. It's coming, but they're being very gentle about it.
What is coming? What are you watching for?
They're gonna say you're here to lie because you're a biased witness. You lost your dad, now you're about to lose your mom, and you're trying to save your mom, and you would say basically anything to get your mom out of this situation.
But as a juror, if I were listening to this, I wouldn't mind a somewhat biased witness that is a family member and the daughter of both the decedent and the defendant.
You wouldn't mind it, but the jurors also want the truth. So they don't want someone, even a very sympathetic daughter, coming to confuse the situation. And it's their job to look at the facts and be the trier of fact neutrally, not with emotion.
So do you think that there's anything that needs to be cleaned up on redirect?
Just come out and say, did I put words in your mouth if they're talking about someone who interviewed her and who might have coached her on what to say? And are you lying? Would you lie for your mom? And she would have to say, no, I am telling the truth.
Well, let's talk about the mom. Let's talk about the main event that could happen as early as today. The colloquy, she did it yesterday. She says, I'm taking the stand in my own defense. How is she prepping for that? How would you be preparing her?
I would be emotional, but not overly emotional. And she has to come up with an explanation to, one, explain why she let her husband lay in that condition as a pharmacist with healthcare background, and she delayed him getting medical care. Why, after he died, they said it was natural causes, and she didn't herself advocate and order an autopsy. I don't know if you know, Matt, but my husband recently passed away.
And I'm sorry to hear that, yeah.
He had a lung transplant and it didn't go well for him. I didn't have to have an autopsy. They said, oh, we don't have to do one. It's just related to his condition. I said I wanted one. Why would her 38-year-old, otherwise healthy husband die, and she wouldn't want to know the cause? Maybe because she did it.
Give me your hand. I'm sorry for your loss. I thank you for being on the program. You're a great legal analyst.
Thank you.
We do have to take a break because coming up, Ted Rollins takes over our coverage in the Ponzi scheme murder trial of Natalie Cochran. Plus, we also head to Idaho for a very important motions hearing.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rollins. Good to be with you, tracking several cases across the country, as we always do. We're in West Virginia. The defense case is underway in the Ponzi scheme murder trial for Natalie Cochran. She's the former pharmacist accused of killing her husband with insulin back in 2019. The defendant says she wants to get up there and testify. We'll get you back into that courtroom in just a bit. In Idaho, accused killer Brian Koberger back in court this hour for a motions hearing. We'll bring you that later today. And in Kansas, the state could rest its case today in the stepdaughter turned wife murder trial for Larry Ingram. He's accused of shooting and killing 23-year-old common law wife, his 23-year-old common law wife. Let's go back to Virginia now. More the Ponzi scheme murder trial for Natalie Cochran on the stand. The defendant's daughter will pick it up with the cross.
Agitated. Under stress?
I don't know the cause of the agitation.
Okay, fair enough. You went to school on the date that your dad collapsed at the normal time?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, what would the normal time be?
We would normally get to school around 7:15.
And from your house on 4H Lake Road to the school, how many minutes on a normal day would that be?
Probably 25 with school traffic.
Yeah, that'd actually be pretty good. So you left your house at 10 to 7, something like that? Would that be about the normal time you would do that?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. And on the 6th of February, 2019, which is the date your dad collapsed, your mom took you to school, correct?
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. Somehow you got there. You don't quite remember. That was a long time ago. But you don't remember when you got there, but you did get to school. Yes?
Yes,
And you returned on the bus, and it's about, you don't specifically remember that day, but it was about 2:45. Is that right?
likely yes.
Okay. When you got to your house, where was your dad physically at that time?
He was on the couch.
And your mom was there, and who else was there when you got home from school?
My mother and the Hamiltons,
Both Hamiltons.
John and Stephanie, yes.
Okay. And did they stay for the rest of the evening, or did they leave shortly after you got home?
I believe they were there for a little while, but I'm not entirely sure on the specifics.
Fair enough. Who's Penny Carrico?
She's my aunt.
Did you call her that day and say, hey, we need some help?
I don't really remember that.
Okay. At some point, Penny Carrico came to your house, correct?
Yes,
This is not designed in any way to embarrass you, but were you present when your dad lost control of his bladder? Or had that already happened by the time you got there?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you help change your dad's clothes or anything?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fine. You indicated that about 4 o'clock they took your dad to the hospital. Is that what you remember?
That seems right, yes.
Okay. If there's some information that it was actually a couple hours later than that, would you dispute that?
I wasn't very concerned with the time during that time.
Sure. Did Chris Davis come over to your house before they took your dad to the hospital?
I remember him being there, but I don't remember what time.
Who took care of you and your brother when your folks went to the hospital that day?
I don't remember that day who took us specifically, but I remember while I was in the hospital, we stayed with both of my grandparents on different circumstances and my aunt, I believe.
Same one we were talking about, Ms. Carrico?
Yes.
Okay. Were you present at your house when somebody decided we've got to take your dad to the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, do you remember who else was in your house besides your mom and dad, you? Were the Hamiltons still there?
I remember many people were there, but I don't remember if they were still there or not.
Okay. You indicated Mr. Treadway was there.
I believe so, yes.
Were you actually present when your dad was taken to a car and they went to the hospital, or had you already left by then?
I think I was present.
Okay. Let's go back briefly to your dad's business, or what you describe as your dad's business. You know what his end of the was, but as far as you know, your mom had nothing to do with it. Is that what you understand?
Yes.
Okay. And so if there were bunches of messages where your mom was telling people, here's what's going on with the business, here's when you're going to get paid, can you invest in this, can you invest, those types of, you would know nothing about that. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Could I have just a moment, please, Your Honor?
Sure.
Who's that? What's your grandma or your mom's name?
Daphne.
What's her last name? I'm sorry.
Daphne Jessup.
Okay. Did she come over to your house that day while you were there?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you know if your mom communicated with her by phone or text or anything?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So if a message went from your mom to your grandma that said, Nick and I are enjoying a little girl couch time at about 4 o'clock that evening, you wouldn't know anything about that?
I'm not sure.
Do you remember enjoying some girl time with your mom at 4 o'clock on February the 6th, 2019?
We both sat with my father. Yes.
That's all the questions the state has. Thank you.
May confer with counsel.
Sure.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, redirect Mr. Victor.
In 2019, how old were you? Just give us some good math.
13, I believe.
On February the 6th, when your father was unconscious, I presume, or sleeping, or has already fell on the ground, were you concerned about who was in the house?
Not really.
Were you concerned about your father?
Yes.
Now, prosecutor asked you about asking your dad about the contracts or what he was doing. Would you agree with me that your father sometimes paid less attention to you than your brother?
Yes.
Would you say that you were perhaps that you were starved for his attention?
Yes.
And you wanted his attention by asking him first what the heck he was doing, right?
Yes.
But he never really took the bait and never really talked to you about anything else other than giving you the answer, I'm working on the contracts, right?
Yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Can I ask one more?
Sure, go ahead.
I should have asked you this before, and I'm sorry, but you indicated that your dad was his happiest when he was getting money. Wouldn't it be when he thought he was going to get some money?
Can you restate the question?
Sure. You indicated that your dad was at his happiest when he was getting some money. Is that what you remember saying?
Yes.
Okay. Was he also happy when he thought he was going to be getting some money?
Yes.
That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Victor?
For a 13-year-old, did you understand the word investors?
Vaguely, I would say.
Did your father ever use that word, investors?
Yes.
What did he tell you about the investors, if you remember?
He would never say it to me directly, but he would just talk about paying the investors.
Paying the investor,
Yes.
okay? And even though you're now a future accounting genius, did you understand what he meant by that?
I would say fairly well, yes.
Well, what did you understand by that? Then,
That there were individuals investing in the company and he needed to pay them back.
okay? Did you ever see any documents that your father would show you? The company documents, the spreadsheets, anything that had to do with income and outlay of money.
I had seen him working on a spreadsheet, but I wasn't told what it was.
Okay, you don't remember the details, what was on those spreadsheets.
No, I wasn't allowed to really see a lot.
Why weren't you allowed to see?
We just didn't get along.
Your father wouldn't let you see what he was working on?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, that's all.
Anything further, Mr. Truman?
Nothing from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, may this witness be excused?
So far as the state's concerned. Yes, Your Honor.
You may step down, Ms. Cochran. You are excused.